China's economic growth has been truly unprecedented, defying all known expectations. But now, a significant slowdown is being witnessed, a scenario marked by the property crisis and all its ramifications. However, what stands out is the unpredictability of a significant recovery in the Chinese real estate market for the year 2024. Deflationary pressures are manifesting intensely, creating the deepest and longest deflation in China since the 1998 Asian financial crisis. The stock market has lost an incredible $6 trillion in value over the past 18 months, while unemployment, especially among the youth, is on the rise. The challenge for the rest of the world is that this slowdown means China is cutting back on spending. This translates into fewer sales for luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, fewer iPhones sold by Apple, and less Chinese investment in global infrastructure, such as railway projects in Africa and ports in Europe. From multinational corporations to ordinary people, everyone has been swept up in China's success story, which now seems to be coming to an end. In short, it's bad news for the global economy. But how does this affect China's growth miracle? Before understanding the impact of all this, it's crucial to grasp the severity of the situation in China. For most of the past 2 decades, the country's growth has been unstoppable. China transformed into the world's factory floor, driving monumental expansion and becoming a massive manufacturing powerhouse. Its GDP often saw double-digit growth, and in 2010, it surpassed Japan to become the world's second-largest economy. The emergence of the Chinese middle class benefited a wide range of multinational brands. Volkswagen, for example, sold over 500,000 cars in China in 2005. By 2019, that number jumped to 4 million. Apple's sales in China increased from almost $13 billion to nearly $70 billion in a decade. Even cosmetic giants like Estée Lauder relied on China for most of their sales. But then, that story of exponential growth came to a halt during the pandemic. China adhered to a strict zero-COVID policy, leading local governments to spend huge amounts on quarantines and testing, and witnessing the closure of businesses, factories, and entire cities due to a handful of infections. And that's not all. Geopolitical tensions, especially with the U.S., exacerbated the problems facing the Chinese economy. Former President Donald Trump imposed a series of tariffs on Chinese goods, and the Biden administration's restrictions on China's access to chip technology, along with concerns about a possible conflict over Taiwan, led foreign companies to reduce their direct investments in China. And then there's the property crisis. This is an economy that was built through rapid expansion of infrastructure projects fueled by a rapid accumulation of debt among developers and local governments. We've seen the government crack down on developers with bad reputations in an attempt to rein in unnecessary spending or hidden debts, but this has created a massive crisis of confidence within China. We've also seen this translate into weakness in the stock market, with people fleeing the stock market out of fear that the economy is slowing down too much. For those entering the job market, the situation is even worse. In fact, youth unemployment has become so severe that China stopped publishing the data for a few months. Recent graduates are facing immense difficulty in finding jobs in their fields, even though they are qualified for the roles. This situation has broader implications for the rest of the world. All those companies that relied on China for much of their growth will face much tougher times ahead, and this has consequences for spending outside of China as well. We haven't really seen the return of tourism to other parts of the world in the way we would like to see, fueled by Chinese spending. And finally, there's the political aspect, which has significant consequences. This new economic reality in China is likely to lead to a new political reality as well. The slowdown complicates things for President Xi Jinping, who seeks to solidify his position as the most powerful leader of China since Mao. When the economy is booming, people are more likely to accept the Communist Party's control over things like freedom of expression in exchange for prosperity. A slowing economy risks the opposite reaction. It also means that China's influence outside the country may be reduced, with foreign spending on the same scale as recent years becoming harder to justify. There are also ramifications for U.S. taxpayers. China has been one of the largest investors in U.S. Treasury bonds for much of the past 3 decades, issued by the U.S. government to pay for public services. China has already significantly reduced its holdings of U.S. debt. If this continues, it could become more expensive for the U.S. to borrow money. For now, it's ordinary Chinese people who are bearing the brunt of the slowdown. What do you think about this whole scenario? Are we about to see the fall of the country that has risen financially the most in recent decades? Are we about to witness the decline of the great Asian power?